In this lesson we'll be learning how to describe the weather, and we'll also learn a question that you can put onto the end of a statement to turn it into the start of a conversation with a neighbour perhaps. We'll also look at a few ways in which a neighbour might respond to your question. Enjoy! So we'll start off with il fait beau. Il fait beau means it's beautiful weather. Il fait beau. In English we say it is beautiful, but in French we always use the verb faire here, which means do. It does beautiful. Il fait beau. Il fait beau. Il fait mauvais. Il fait mauvais. It's bad weather. It's not very nice weather. Il fait mauvais. So again, there's that il fait, because we're describing the weather does. And then mauvais, we can maybe remember it with the mauve of a kind of grey, mauve kind of cloud. Il fait mauvais. It's bad weather. Il fait chaud. Il fait chaud. It's hot. Il fait chaud. It's a really common mistake that we make is to say it is, to say c'est here. But c'est chaud is not how you would talk about the weather. You need to say il fait chaud if you're talking about the weather. Il fait froid. Il fait froid. It's cold. Il fait froid. And you also use il fait for the temperature it is. So il fait 30 degrés. Il fait 30 degrés. Maybe il fait 20 degrés. Il fait 25 degrés. This word here, vraiment, can be a very useful little word to just emphasise a little bit more the weather, or it's also used in the way that we use really in English. You know, if somebody says something that's interesting, you can answer vraiment. It's pronounced like this, vraiment. The T isn't pronounced, so vraiment, vraiment. And this is how you use it with the weather if you want to emphasise. So you say, il fait vraiment beau. Il fait vraiment beau, which is our il fait beau, but the vraiment comes in front of the beau, just like in English where it says it's really beautiful. Il fait vraiment beau. Il fait vraiment mauvais. Il fait vraiment mauvais. It's really bad weather. Il fait vraiment chaud. Il fait vraiment chaud. It's really hot. Il fait vraiment froid. Il fait vraiment froid. Okay, a quick quiz. Let's see what you can remember. So tell me, how would you say it's really beautiful weather? Il fait vraiment beau. How about it's really hot? Il fait vraiment chaud. How about it's really cold? Il fait vraiment froid. And the one that's a bit more difficult to remember the mauve of the clouds. It's really bad weather. Il fait vraiment mauvais. Il fait vraiment mauvais. To say isn't it, what we need to do is say this little combination of words, n'est pas. N'est pas. This literally means is it not. N'est pas. N'est pas. It looks like this in writing, but in how it sounds is this, n'est pas, n'est pas. And this n'est pas can be put on the end of any statement about the weather, and it turns it into the start of a bit of small talk. So you can start off and you can say, it's beautiful weather, isn't it? Or it's really beautiful weather, isn't it? That starts off your conversation. So how would you say that? It's really beautiful weather, isn't it? Il fait vraiment beau, n'est-ce pas? Il fait vraiment beau, n'est-ce pas? How about this? Ooh, it's really hot, isn't it? You see your neighbour over the fence. It's really hot, isn't it? Il fait vraiment chaud, n'est-ce pas? It's really cold, isn't it? Il fait vraiment froid, n'est-ce pas? And the last one, it's really bad weather, isn't it? Il fait vraiment mauvais, n'est-ce pas? So notice each time I say the n'est pas, when it's a question, my voice goes up at the end. The intonation rises at the end. So n'est pas, and that's turning it into a question. the answers that you get from your neighbours might include some of these. So you might hear them reply, oui, c'est merveilleux. Yes, it's marvellous. Oui, c'est magnifique. C'est magnifique. It's wonderful. And this is a nice little way to express pleasure about the weather. Quel beau temps. Quel here means what. So quel beau temps is like, what beautiful weather. Temps is the word for weather. And even though there's an MP and an S on the end, it doesn't sound like there's an MP on the S or an S. It sounds like it finishes in your nose. Temps. It's kind of an N, but not quite a closed N. Quel beau temps. Quel beau temps. Maybe they're agreeing with you that the weather's awful, so they would say, oui, c'est affreux. C'est affreux. It's awful. C'est terrible. C'est terrible. It's terrible. Or quel temps de chien. Quel temps de chien. So we recognise the quel, temps, so what weather de chien. What weather of a dog. What dog's weather. It's just a way to say terrible weather. Oui, quel temps de chien. They might also answer with a negative. So you might say, oh, it's horrible weather outside. Il fait vraiment mauvais. And they might answer and say, oui, il fait pas beau. And what they're doing here is they're saying, yes, it's not nice, it's not beautiful. Il fait pas beau. When you learn negatives in French, you learn that there's a ne and a pas to form the negative, to make it not. And this ne and the pas has to wrap around the verb. Il ne fait pas beau. The verb here is the action, which is the doing part of it, so the weather does not do beautiful. But when we're speaking French, in spoken French, we very often drop that ne, so the ne doesn't need to be put in there in spoken French. You will notice that when French people speak that they really often do drop that ne. So for me, I think I'm going to be like the French and drop the ne, so it makes life a little bit easier. So il fait pas beau, il fait pas beau. Yeah, it's not good weather. Il fait pas mauvais, il fait pas mauvais, it's not bad weather. Il fait pas froid, il fait pas froid. Oh yeah, it's not cold. Or il fait pas chaud, il fait pas chaud, it's not hot. So let's have a little recap. You have to say il fait when you're describing the weather. Remember the weather does. To say it's beautiful weather, you say il fait beau. To say it's bad weather, you say il fait mauvais. To say it's hot, you say il fait chaud. To say it's cold, il fait froid. To put a bit more emphasis into your sentence, you can use the word vraiment, really, before the describing word. To make small talk, try adding in a little n'est-ce pas question at the end, isn't it? And expect an expression of agreement with you, such as, yes, it's wonderful, it's awful. Or maybe they might say, oh, yes, it's not, whatever it might be, the opposite weather. So listen out for pas, meaning not here. And remember that you can drop the ne when you're speaking. I hope that you found that useful. If you did and you want to download the complimentary cheat sheet, click on the link in the description below and it will be sent to you straight away. Okay, à bientôt!